Dear students, welcome to this class. Today, we are going to look at nutrition. This is a very interesting topic to know. All right? Nutrition on the board is one of the characteristics of living things which we discussed in the last class, as to be the process by which living organisms obtain materials from their external environment, which provide them with nutrients from which is broken down to obtain necessary materials for metabolic activities in the body. Now, I want you to understand that nutrition is not far from food. Yes, because the materials obtained from the external environment in this process is the food. All right? What is food to start with? Food is any substance, solid or liquid, which when taken into the body, yield energy, repair damaged cells or tissues, and enhances for proper growth and development. Then, like I told you before, nutrition to be one of the characteristics of living things by which they obtain materials from their external environment, all right, which provide them with necessary materials for metabolic activities after breaking down. Now, like I told you, it's one of the characteristics of living things, in quotes. One of the characteristics of living things. That means that those living things, which I classified in the last class, both plants and animals, undergoes nutrition. Do you understand? Yes, both plants and animals undergoes nutrition, all right? Because they obtain nutrients from the external environment for metabolic activities. Now let's define food here. Food is any substance solid or liquid which when take into the body yield energy, repair damaged cells or tissue, enhances proper growth and development. Like I told you, nutrition and food are together, all right? You cannot separate nutrition from food because these materials, the living organisms, obtain from their external environment, all right, which provide them with necessary nutrients or materials for metabolic activities, is food, which I've defined on the board, all right? Now, this nutrition here, all right, nutrition is one of the characteristics of living things, which shows that both plants and animals undergoes nutrition. Okay, what is nutrition? Let's define that on the board. Nutrition is one of the characteristics of living things in which living things obtain materials from their external environment, which is broken down which is broken down to provide necessary substance. Necessary substances utilized for metabolic activities. All right? Nutrition is one of the characteristics of living things in which living things obtain materials from their external environment, which is broken down to provide necessary substances utilized for metabolic activities. All right? And like I told you, both plants and animals undergoes nutrition. Now, I'm going to give you a chart, all right, that will elaborate more in details for you to understand what we mean by this nutrition. Do you understand? All right? It's a chart that will show you the kind of nutrition we see in plants and the kind of nutrition we see in animals. All right? All right. We have it here as types of nutrition. All right? Nutrition divided into two types. Number one, autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition. Number two, heterotrophic nutrition. All right? The organisms that exhibit autotrophic nutrition is known as autotrophs. The organism that exhibits autotrophic nutrition is known as autotrophs, while the organism that exhibits heterotrophic nutrition is known as heterotrophs. Are you following? All right. The organism that undergoes autotrophic nutrition are known as autotrophs, while that of the heterotrophic nutrition are known as heterotrophs. Now, what is autotrophic nutrition? The word auto here, auto means self. All right? Auto means self. Are you following? Now, autotrophic nutrition here is the type of nutrition in which the living organisms have the ability to produce their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance. All right? Is the type of nutrition in which the living organism is the type of nutrition in which the living organism, which includes plant and animal, have the ability to produce their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance. All right? Autotrophic nutrition is the type of nutrition in which the living organisms have the ability to produce their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance. All right? Now, I told you that the organisms that have this ability to produce their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance, all right, they are known as what? Autotrophs. All right? The organism that exhibit this type of nutrition here, autotrophic nutrition, they are known as what? Autotrophs. Now, I want you to know that you can call these organisms producers. Why do I call it producers? I called these organisms producers because they have the ability to produce. you understand? Ability to use inorganic substance to produce their food. That's why we call them what? Producers. Do you understand? Okay, now, can you give me examples of these producers? Examples are green plants, green plants, and bacteria. Bacteria like nitrosomonas, clostridium. They make their food from chemical reactions. All right? Why green plant undergoes photosynthesis? What makes the plant green is the presence of chlorophyll, which plant utilizes for photosynthesis. Plant utilizes this chlorophyll for photosynthesis, which enables them to produce their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance. I'm going to elaborate on this by the time we are going to look at plant nutrition. I will elaborate more on photosynthesis. Then we are going to look at how plants produce their food during the process of photosynthesis and the series of stepwise reactions which is controlled by enzymes to make sure that plants have this ability to produce their food by themselves. We are going to discuss on the light and the dark reactions where they take place in the green plant. All right? The part of chlorophyll where the light reactions occur, the part of chlorophyll where the dark reactions occur, and how the series of reactions occurs step by step. These are what we're going to look at in the next video. Now, let's look at heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition, which is the opposite to this, all right, is the type of nutrition in which the living organism do not produce their food by themselves. From simple inorganic substance. Rather, they depend on autotrophs, in brackets. Like I told you, you can call it producers to get their food. All right? Is the type of nutrition in which the living organism do not have the ability to produce their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance. All right? Rather, the organisms here, they depend on autotrophs, which I wrote in bracket here to be producers, like I state here, to depend. They depend on this to get their food. All right? And the organisms are known as heterotrophs. Do you understand? They are known as heterotrophs. These heterotrophs here, it comprises of consumers, then decomposers. Decomposers. They comprise of consumers and decomposers. All right? We have the primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. Primary, secondary, and tertiary consumer. Then we have decomposers. All of them makes up the heterotrophs. They are not producers. They depend on already made food by plants and bacteria to acquire their nutrients. Now, I'm going to complete the chart I told you before that we're going to state. The chart that will help you to understand the concept of the topic on the board, the nutrition, and with the chart, you are going to know the major area of concentration you are expected to know for your exams, all right? All right. The autotrophs here is divided into two. One is photosynthesis. Two is chemosynthesis. Photosynthesis is known as holophytic. All right? From the word holophytic, making their food by themselves. But the word fight here is what? Plants, holophytes. They are referred to as holophytes. All right? Now, what is photosynthesis? I think I'm going to discuss this in the next topic, the plant nutrition. Photosynthesis here on the board is the process by which green plants is capable of producing their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance. All right? Is the process by which living organism is capable of producing their food by themselves from simple inorganic substance such as chlorophyll, water, and carbon dioxide. They use that to make their food. All right? Now look at the chemical equation of photosynthesis. Six molecules of carbon dioxide reacting with 6 molecules of water in the presence of sunlight using chlorophyll to produce the first stable product, as we have in the past question, known as glucose, which when become excess in the plant is converted to starch or cellulose. Then 6 molecules of oxygen gas that is given off as a byproduct. This is the chemical equation of photosynthesis. All right, which we describe as the series of stepwise reactions controlled by enzymes in which carbon dioxide combined with water in the presence of sunlight using chlorophyll to produce glucose and oxygen gas, which is given off as a byproduct. Okay, here is carbon dioxide. All right, here is water molecule. All right, here is water molecule, which combine with carbon dioxide and the presence of sunlight using chlorophyll to produce the first stable product of photosynthesis, which I describe here as glucose. All right, the glucose here is hexose. All right, that is sugar with 6 carbon atom. Then oxygen gas is given off as a byproduct. Now take note, if JAM should ask you the oxygen given off by plants during photosynthesis, where is it gotten from? That oxygen is gotten from water. All right, if you follow the chemical equation the way it is balanced here using chemistry knowledge, you will understand that the 6 molecules of water here are coming from both carbon dioxide and water. All right, but because of what happens in the light reaction, that is why JAM choose the answer to be water. Do you understand? I will elaborate that in the next video. Now, the next is chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis is the process by which living organisms have the ability on their own to produce their food by themselves from chemical reaction. All right? It's the series of stepwise reactions controlled by enzymes in living organisms in which they have the ability to produce their food from certain chemical reactions. All right? The chemosynthesis equation can be written as this. Chemical reaction. Then we have here bacteria being the organism that exhibits this kind of autotrophic nutrition. All right, so that's the chemical equation that explains chemosynthesis. All right, now let's look at heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition here is divided into 4. Number 1 is holozoic nutrition. Number 2 is symbiotic nutrition. Number 3 is parasitic nutrition. Number 4 is saprophytic nutrition. All right? Now, in the holozoic nutrition here, the living organism possess well-developed skeletal, nervous, and muscular system to enable them to search for their food. All right? Now, this type of nutrition here is divided into 3. We have herbivore, we have carnivore, then we have lastly omnivore. All right? The herbivore here, they feed on plant materials. They feed on plant materials. All right? Now, carnivores here feed on flesh and bones. They feed on flesh and bones. Then omnivores here, they feed on both plants and animals materials. They feed on both plants and animals. Okay? Now, this herbivore here include goats, sheep, all right, cow, and the rest of them. Now, the carnivore, please, for better understanding, the carnivore, we said that it feeds on flesh and bones. It's divided into 2. All right? We have predators and scavengers. Predators feed on weaker animals. They feed on those animals that are smaller or weaker. They feel like they can feed on them, all right? The organisms are known as predators. While the organism they feed on is known as prey. The weaker organism the predators feed on are known as prey, all right? Now, these ones, they feed on living organisms. Predators feed on living organisms, attack them, kill them, and feed on them. While the scavengers, they feed on dead and decaying organisms. That is to say, they feed on dead and decaying animals. All right? Examples include hyena, wolves, all right? Hawk. While here, examples of predators are leopard, tiger, and lion. We have also eagle. They feed on prey. Why omnivore? Omnivore are those that feed on both plants and animals materials. Examples are man, pig, bears, and the rest of them. Now, symbiotic nutrition here has to do with relationship between 2 organisms of different species, all right, in which the 2 depend on one another for survival. One cannot survive without the other, all right? This type of nutrition is seen between algae, and fungi, all right? The association of algae and fungi is known as leaching. Leaching is the association of fungi and algae. All right? Now, how do the 2 benefit from each other? Fungi here provide moisture, provide support, provide mineral salts, which algae use to make food through photosynthesis for both itself and fungi. You see that algae cannot survive without fungi because without fungi, algae cannot produce their food through the process known as photosynthesis because there will be no moisture for photosynthesis. Likewise, there will be no support for them to survive. and also there will be no mineral salt, as I said earlier. All right. Another examples are bacteria and goats. Let's say ruminant animals. Man cannot digest cellulose. Man cannot digest cellulose. Why? Because man lack the digestive enzyme that digests cellulose, and that enzyme is known as cellulase. All right? Man lack digestive enzyme known as cellulase. That is why man cannot digest cellulose. Then likewise bacteria and goats. Goat cannot also digest cellulose because goat don't have cellulase. But in their stomach, we have bacteria living there naturally. These bacteria live in the stomach of goats naturally and is capable of digesting cellulose because as the bacteria feed on the grasses inside the stomach of goats, they provide the goat with cellulase, which help to break down cellulose to become nutritious for goats. You see how these two organisms benefit from each other. If goat did not feed, there will be no food for bacteria. All right, and goat also provide shelter and protection for bacteria. Then bacteria now make the grasses, the cellulose obtained from the grasses, the goat feed on to become food for them. So without bacteria, the cellulose cannot be food for goat because goat cannot obtain nutrients from it. So you see how the two benefit from each other. Now, another examples, I'm going to write it here because of space. Another examples of symbiotic nutrition is hermit crab. Association of hermit crab and sea anemones. Hermit crab and sea anemones. How do the two benefit from each other? The hermit crab is a prey to higher organisms in their aquatic animals, right? While they attaches with sea anemones, it makes them to look like a stronger or higher organisms, which will not scare away their predators. And as the hermit crab is going and going and going around their environment, predators are running away, sea animals will now start to make food for itself and hermit crab. You understand? So how do the two benefit from each other? If the hermit crab is to exist on its own, it will be fed on by the what? By their predators. All right. So because of the attachment, the sea animals will make hermit crab to look more poisonous or to look more stronger, like a higher organism, just as jellyfish. All right, which will not start to scare away their predators. All right. So that means the sea animals provide support for this person. All right, that is to say it also provides protection because it makes the hermit crab to look stronger. Do you understand? Now by the process now, the hermit crab start to move about, right? When it's moving about, this guy now start to get food. It will feed on and also provide food for hermit crab. Remember, take note, what makes this guy to look more stronger is because of the attachment, the tentacle of the sea anemones will start to make the hermit crab to look like jellyfish. Now the predators will now start to run away from the hermit crab. Do you understand? Eh? Okay. Let's move ahead. The next is parasitism. Parasitic nutrition. The next is parasitic. It's a feeding relationship between two organisms of different species in which one provides food, shelter, and protection. That one is known as host. Then the other one gain food, shelter, and protection and cause damage to the host. And that is known as parasite. Parasite attack the host. The host is harmed. Take note. Host is harmed. Parasites do what? Gain. All right? The parasites are divided into two. Before you can call it a parasite, take note, it must live either inside the body or on the body surface. The one that live on the body surface is known as ectoparasite. Parasites that live on the body surface, they are known as ectoparasite. Remember, before you can call it a parasite, it must live either inside or on the body surface. So the parasites that live on the body surface, they are known as ectoparasites. Examples are tick. Examples are tick, ringworm, and lice. These are ectoparasites that live on the body surface. Now, the parasites that live inside the body is known as endoparasites. They live inside the body. Examples are tapeworm, known as Taenia solium, and Taenia saginata. These are the two species of tapeworm. Then we have also Ascaris. Ascaris is known as roundworm. They are known as roundworm. Another example is hookworm. Hookworm. All right. Now, the next we're going to look here is saprophytic nutrition. All right. Here, the living organism feed on dead and decaying matter. Take note. Saprophytic nutrition. Digestion is extracellular. How do that happen? The saprophyte, which is the organism that exhibits this type of nutrition, they secrete their digestive enzymes on the surface of the food. All right. Now, these digestive enzymes will start to break the food molecules into their simplest chemical units, at which the organism can now absorb into the body as nutrients. All right. If you look at the experiment, you understand that the digestion takes place outside the body of the organism. Digestion takes place outside the body of the organism, and that is why we call that type of digestion extracellular digestion, which takes place outside the body of the saprophyte. All right. This type of nutrition is seen in fungi. Fungi are yeasts. Yeast is the only fungi that is unicellular. You can say that the only unicellular fungi is yeast. Then we have penicillium, we have mushroom, we have rhizopus. These are the organisms that exhibit saprophytic nutrition. All right? Please, we are going to stop here today. In the next class, we continue from the plant nutrition. I will elaborate more on that. Thank you, and God bless you. Don't forget to subscribe and share our videos to your friends. Thank you.